Namaskar, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. And I'm just going to share few slides. Uh, Thank you. Many of you are coming repeatedly to these sessions, and thank you again to all of you. And a very, very warm welcome to this tripart series of webinars that we have planned with Nurse India and Cigna Healthcare. This is in honoring Patient Safety Awareness Week, which is 9 to 15 in March. We could not do something at that particular time, but I'm happy that we could come up with this very unique topics. And we started on 18th when I spoke about negotiable nursing practices for patient safety, targeting nurses, young students, everyone. And then we up to the topic a little bit more for the senior people. That's when Dr. Jyoti Clara spoke about near misses, and both the sessions were well attended. So today, third day, we are doing something very unique here. And I'm very glad. We'll talk more about it in a minute. Just give me a second. And this is about simulation based root cause analysis. Many of you have heard simulation, and maybe some of you are exposed to it, some of you are using that methodology. But interestingly, at least I have not come across anyone talking about simulation based root cause analysis. There is power in simulation methodology. I'm not going to tell a lot into that. We are very honored to have Dr. Jaideep Herbert with us. He's the COO of Vidyanta, and he's a young person, but he has got 13 years experience into simulation only. I was also exposed to simulation almost the same time as Jaideep, but he has been exclusively in simulation based education, and I have been 4.5 years in simulation and then on and off. And I'm extremely glad to have known Jaideep, and I'm able to keep my passion for simulation alive, doing multiple things along with Jaideep and team, and I'm very, very happy. And you see his bio, a short one here, and he's an author of books, and he was the editor for the first publication from Association of Nurse Executives India, uh, Learning Ignited from Errors. This book is available on Amazon. He's got awards to his credit, but most importantly, what I like is that he's very, very humble and very open for any ideas. I think that is one of the criteria required for a simulation expert. Every time the simulation, experts or even the enthusiasts, they're always creatively thinking, what can we do with this methodology? And I'm very, very happy that today, so many of you have joined to get exposed to this, methodology and using that for doing root cause analysis. I don't think anybody has discussed this. I have not seen many websites. I did search, and there were two, three articles where they talk about using this, but I can envision that it can be a powerful tool to do better root cause analysis, though 1 hour is not enough to do complete justice. But nevertheless, Jaideep, thank you so much for taking time, and a very, very warm welcome. And over to you, and you start the session. Then we will have more discussions as we go along. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Without you, there are no webinars, there are no activities. You are the most important, you know, integral part of any activity that we do, because there have to be delegates, there have to be learners, there have to be people who are showing interest. So we keep ourselves motivated to plan for more innovative things. Thank you so much for being here. Over to you, Jaideep.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Very good evening to everyone. And thank you so much for a wonderful introduction. And you called me a very young, still my beard is getting white day by day, but I feel
Not whiter than
that,
young, huh?
but none of the single hair from the hair is white. So thank you so much. And I'm very excited for today and the topic which you have taken for that, the simulation, how it can be involved into the root cause analysis. Usually, when we talk about the patient safety, we talk about the IPSG goals, we talk about the medication safety, we talk about the patient falls. We more talk about the IPSG goals when we talk about the patient safety awareness. Whereas when we talk about simulation, we always think the simulation means it's a procedure demonstration or the skills demonstration. But the very good thing, it's not the exactly that the simulation is just the patient, the demonstration for any skills or demonstration of any procedure. But wherever the human life is involved or the human safety is involved, that's really the simulation has to in. And we cannot practice anything on the patients when we talk, especially when we talk about the patient safety. So I'm very excited for this topic, and that very diligently you choose this, that the how the root cause analysis can be done through simulation based training and the through simulation based case scenarios, through simulation based act, to find out the failures, to find out the what's the problem, to find out the what's the cause, and to make our patients more and more safe. So I'm very excited to go on with that. And again, thank you so much to everyone who is here to listen about it, and we'll share our thoughts, insight on it. And I hope that this will be the most interesting session for all of you.
Are you sharing?
I thought that you are going to say something. Okay,
No,
so
no, no.
if you allow me, let me just share my
Yeah, yeah,
few
please.
things with
Okay.
you. I hope it is visible.
Yes.
Yes. So when we talk about the new thing, and today I
Put it
see
on
that this,
slideshow, Jaideep. Just put it on slide.
yeah, sure. Is it okay?
Yep. If you, yeah, you are at the end of the slide. Can you go back to the first slide? Click on the first slide and now put it on slideshow.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So whenever we talk about the new things, and the simulation-based RCA is also new for all of us today. And I think this is the best way to talk about what, where, why, how, and why we are doing it with that, the real examples. So we'll talk about that, what is simulation-based RCA, how we have to do, why we should do, who should able to do it, how simulation transform RCA into proactive or system-focused strategy, why healthcare leaders and educators to be trained in simulation methodologies when they have to do that, the RCA. And with the real world examples, we will discuss about that, the how it improves that the simulation based or the simulation RCA improves that the patient safety. So let's move beyond the blame game, what we usually do when we do the RCA, Meninikia, Snakia, Meninikia, Snakia. We'll go into that, and we will learn into the culture of learning, prevention, and safety, should say. In healthcare, whenever we are identifying and addressing the root causes of failure is crucial to improving the patient safety. And usually, traditionally, what we usually do, we rely on the retrospective data, or we rely on the subjective reporting, which can miss critical system vulnerabilities, I could say. And simulation-based RCA offers more dynamic, hands-on approach, helping healthcare teams who can uncover the risks, mitigate the potential failures, and implement the best solution. So all three things which we can do. So let's explore, and let's start with what is simulation based, and then we will go one by one and discuss. So what is simulation based RCA? Let me just show you one video. Watch this video and see, then you can understand that how the simulation based RCA can be done. I know this video will be in Hindi. but I'm sorry, those who cannot understand Hindi, but you will understand through this video that what is going on.
Jaideep,
Let's
once
hope.
you finish this Hindi, I have a one small video from YouTube in English. I can show that, just about a minute or something.
That's perfect.
मतलब जग्गू टटोरिया की बीवी ने उससे जहर पिलाया। ओह नो मधु, मैं किचन में चिप्स भूल गया हूँ, जरा प्लीज ला दोगे? Okay, just wait. और जग्गू टटोरिया ने अपनी बीवी के ग्लास में चुपके से जहर मिला दिया। हाँ फ्रेडिक्स, रिजल्ट आ गया। पता चल गया कि ये ब्रेसलेट किस ज्वेलरी शॉप से खरीदा गया था। किसने खरीदा था? एक आदमी था सर। नाम बताओ फ्रेडिक्स। राजीव। राजीव। राजीव, घर में कोई नहीं है? हाँ।
Do you want to show, ma'am, any things?
Yeah, if you stop sharing, I will
Yeah, sure.
share my screen. Just a second. So I'm going to show a video. It is pretty self-explanatory. Couldn't find anything from healthcare because it is not very prevalent, but I'm sure that you can all appreciate what is being shown here. Just give me a second. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
I'm the instructor here for our criminal forensics class, and today we are applying what the students learned in classroom about lifting fingerprints, collecting gunshot residue, and investigating an unattended death.
In this scenario, on this mock crime scene, we have two deceased individuals in the vehicle. It's their job to determine if it's a suicide, murder-suicide, or a double murder. So they're collecting evidence, they're lifting fingerprints and looking for touch DNA to help solve this crime and figure out if it is in fact a crime.
This is a DNA latent fingerprint kit. So we got this powder and these little brushes and we pick up prints
I stopped
on
sharing.
this crime scene here. We put pictures
So
of them. 'Cause
what
we
I wanted
pick 'em
to
up.
emphasize was that we are also using simulation principles. This is what we do in colleges, right? We teach them, and then we do simulations so that learn about patient experience. Here, what we are saying is probably there is an event. Can we recreate? I'm forgetting the name of that one movie I saw many years ago where they were trying to differentiate whether the person who died because he jumped from the top floor or somebody pushed him. So they actually created a mannequin of same weight and they tried both methods. They pushed and they did that. If somebody is jumping, they'll go like this. When they push, they'll finally they were able to decipher that what was the cause. So that's, isn't it very interesting? We are not going to investigate murder or something in the healthcare. So Jaideep, let's continue. There will be interesting discussion once we finish. I can see a lot of senior people here, so they'll have a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
excited.
can you share your slides, please?
Yeah, sure. So you all must watch that. So now what part is over? And I hope that you already understood about that, the what is simulation-based RCA. So you must have watched the TV show, right? And the TV show called CID, and you or any detective movies. And many of us love these shows. And you know that why we love these shows? Because they hooked up with their investigations, piecing together the different clues, reconstructing the crime scenes, and uncovering the truth step by step. right? And that's exactly that the simulation-based RCA. So this CID, which you have watched, there's something has happened which nobody knows. On the basis of that, what the subjective information, what the retrospective information they have collected, they act into the various scenarios and they find out what can be the cause for that. Now think about how detectives work. When a crime occurs, they don't rely solely on the witness statements or they don't rely only on the reports, but instead they construct the scene. And when you construct the scene, you analyze the every details. You know that and step into the suspect shoes to uncover what truly happened. You have to put yourself into the shoe. And they use the forensic evidence, video replays, uh, reenactment to find out the root cause without any assumption, without any bias, or without any blame game. That is the scenario-based RCA when you reconstruct the scenario. Now compare this how we can use this in healthcare investigations with these adverse effects. Traditionally, as I said, we only rely on the reports, on the interviews, on our peer-based reviews. But what if it is like detective or recreated the event through the simulation, right? What if we stepped into the same environment where the incident happened? All these incident happen inside the hospital. And hospital is that, and I always say simulation is the replication of reality. And when we call the replication of reality, you already into the real environment where you do not need to create any context, any fidelity, but you are into the same context. So it will be easy to go into the environment where the incident happened, observe the workflow in the actions, and identify system failures before assigning or blaming on anybody that what was the reason. This is the power of simulation-based analysis, or we can say simulation-based root cause analysis, or RCA. So instead of pointing fingers at individual, we analyze the entire system, the process, the team communication, including the equipments, environment, all the context through simulation. Then we can visualize failure, mitigate the risk, implement sustainable solutions, we can say, or I should say that creating the safer care environment for the patients and the healthcare team alike. So this is the what is simulation-based RCA. So I hope through this video, we understood. If you have any questions or do you want to ask anything on that? So I just close this part. What is simulation-based RCA?
Jaideep is stopping. I think Jaideep, we can take it in the end because if we stop in between, we may either overshoot the time or we will be waiting who is going to ask. So let them put the questions in the chat box and we will take it in the end.
Okay, perfect.
That's
So let's go with that now, how the role of simulation-based root cause analysis. So as I discussed, as I told you, now you understood about that, what is simulation-based root cause analysis. Now we have to understand the role of why, how we have to do, right? We have to replicate the real world scenarios, right? By creating the adverse events into a controlled setting, right? If I'm talking about saying the controlled setting, it means that you have in a safe environment what you are doing, that the same thing. And the team gain deeper insights into the underlying causes. We have to act as a same. The second thing is that we have to observe the systemic failure. Unlike the interviews, unlike the documents reviews, simulation reveals the workflow inefficiencies. Simulation reveals communication gaps. Simulation reveals equipment-related challenges, right? So when we do the replication of reality and when we do that, the same context, the same act, or creating the same scenario, we can reveal those things, not only depend on the whatever is written into that the particular document and what I heard from that the individual. So, and the third thing is that it enhances the team learning. Very important. See, how we have to do that, we have to practicing responses in simulated environment. Everybody who is involved into that, the team, we have to use them, we have to involve them, and that strengthens the problem solving and the crisis management. We should not hear from the senior person and that's assume that what the junior have done the wrong. We should not include only that the nursing personnel, or we should say, okay, this person is done something wrong, this is the human error from the particular department. No, we have to engage everybody, have them the conversation, whether that conversation is related to that phone call or that conversation is direct face-to-face between the nurse and doctor, between that the paramedics and the nurses, or the any department with the nurses. We have to act the same. If nurse is saying that I spoke to the lab technician, what did you speak to the lab technician? What did you call to the lab technician, right? That same we have to act. So that the way how we have to do. So now we understood that what is, then how we have to do, then why. Why? What's the benefit of doing this? See, for every RCA, we should not do the simulation. I'm very particular on that. For every RCA, we should not do. But why we have to do this is very important. It says that it improves the accuracy. Yes, we know. So if we say, then identified the root cause beyond the human errors, including the systems and the process failure, right? When we act the same, then it hits in our mind and we always remember where was the problem. The problem was not with that individual, but problem might be with that the system or the process failure. And the second most important point is the risk mitigation. It helps team proactively address potential hazards before they lead to the real patient harm. Very important, right? So it helps team proactively address potentially hazards before they can lead to the real patient harm into that the simulated scenario. Because what is simulated RC, I told you, it is into the controlled environment, right? So when I say the controlled environment, it means that it's no harm for the patient there. And the third is the interdisciplinary collaboration, which encourage the teams to teamwork, communication across the departments. It should not, after the RCA, the rule should not make, or we should not decide, oh, now the nurses will not talk to that department. The person should not talk directly to the doctor. It should not be like that. It should encourages the teamwork and communication across the departments. When we do the act, then we will realize, okay, what was the problem and how I can make that communication more stronger. And of course, the fourth is that the sustainable solutions provide the actionable insights that lead to the meaningful and the lasting the process, which can improve that your process, your SOPs, your actions, whatever the things which can be implemented by the leaders, and we can identify, oh, there is a problem into the system, there is a problem into the equipment, there is a problem into this process, how we have to fix it going forward. So why it is important and what is the simulation-based RCA, why we have to do and how we have to do. The next, I can jump quickly on that. Who can do the simulation-based RCA? Can everybody do the simulation-based RCA? No, everybody cannot do the simulation-based RCA. You need to have some of the principles. You need to understand about the simulation first. Then only you can do that, the simulation-based RCA. Many of the times among us, when we do the RCA, many people say, oh, this person is thinking different. He is having the CID mind, right? He is my CID. Why? Everybody can do the same? No, we have to. When we talk about the simulation-based RCA, it's a method. Who can do? The person who knows the principles of simulation. This is very important. Until unless you do not understand the principles of simulation, understanding how to design the script, how to design the scenario, how to conduct that act, how to analyze the simulation, how to analyze that exercise, how we have to do the debriefing. Until unless we do not know these principles, we cannot do the simulation-based RCA. So it's very important. First, we have to know that what's the principles. Second, we should know that what's the human factor and the system-based thinking. We have to recognize how the environment, how was the communication, what was the process which contributes all these things to failures, right? And whenever we do that, the crime and the video you have seen for the CID, it's a very quick video, but most of you have already seen those kind of the detective movies or CID serials or the series of the CID. You know that they never do okay everything in a correct way. Oh, this is the way they might do this. No, they always think for the one act, what are the if and buts for it. And that's very important when you have to think the if and buts for that. Oh, if he speaks like that, what can be the interpretation? Oh, she did not speak this clearly to the lab technician. That's why he thought this. Oh, that was the miscommunication between the patient and the nurse because that was the reason. So if and buts, we have to think a lot. So that's the one of the thing which the person has to learn before that the applying the simulation based RCA. And third thing is debriefing and analysis techniques. Learning how to extract the meaningful insight, I should say. They have to know that how we have to extract the meaningful insights from the scenario. The scenario should not be for the fun, but scenario should be that what information I have to catch it, right? That's the right way of doing that, the root cause analysis. You have to find, oh, can you repeat that? What did you speak over the phone with the patient? Can you repeat when you enter into the medication room, what you watch at that time? Oh, you were saying when you were preparing the medication, the another nurse was calling you, but because the one of the patient had or the code blue announced in somewhere. Oh, that time you were preparing the medication and your mind switch and distract, and that's why you did something wrong. Oh, that's the reason, right? So we should know during the act what the information we have to extract. And then the last one is the implementation strategies, right? This, after all this act, whatever the things we know, whatever the things we extract from the scenario, it is important we have to implement those things or translating that simulation finding into the actionable improvements. And that improvements only can be done when you have the evidence proof. Oh, this was the reason we did the act. And on the basis of the act, we realized that was the problem. See, remember, always happen. Whenever we try to implement certain things, we always wanted to have the evidence for that. And doing a simulation into a controlled environment, it's kind of a evidence-based, right? Because you did the similar thing. The most of the time, evidences are not based on what information I collected and heard from the individual, or from the verbal information, or from the certain reports, until unless it is not written. And we called it, okay, if you have a written proof, that is the evidence, right? But that evidence is not sufficient to implement any new action. So when you do this simulation, you can do a video, you can record that act, you can record the scenario, you can watch many times, you can call your team to watch many times and extract the findings, what happened during that time. And then it will definitely, trust me, it helps you to find out the actionable improvement. Oh, there was the problem in my system. I have to improve that problem instead of improving the individual. So that's who can be involved into the simulation-based RCA, the people who understand all these principles. So it is important first, you have to understand the simulation principles, you have to understand the system, and then very nicely you can do the RCA through simulation. And the next is when and where we have to do the simulation-based RCA. It is very interesting when and where, right? As I told you, we have to first select the relevant cases. We have to focus on high risk event or reoccurring issues. For every event, for every once in a while occurred incident, you do not need to do the simulation-based RCA. But you have to find out. Every time when I visit the various hospitals, they say the same mistakes nurses are doing, the same mistake many times they are doing, the same mistakes in the medication they are doing. But what is the cause when everybody is doing the same? There must be some problem. We cannot blame that every individual is same. We cannot say that all the junior nurses are only doing the same thing. We cannot say all the fresh graduate nurses are doing the same thing. No, we have to find out the cause. When I was editing that book of life with Madam Thankam, and we were reading that all these incidents which we get it, and most 99% events were written like that. The junior nurse has done this. A fresh graduate nurse has done that, which is kind of weird, right? It means that the senior never done the mistake. It means that the system does not have any issue. It means that the equipments are functionally properly, because we have to find out that what's the cause for that through simulation, to find out whether there is a problem into the system, into the process, into the equipments, or into the human being. So first, when and where, when you have to do, first we have to find out which are the high risk events and reoccurring issues. Trust me, you will get the answer and that the solution for that. Second, when you have to think when the multiple people are involved into that one incident, and engage the multidisciplinary team, include clinicians, administrators, and supporting staff, right? Which really helps you to save that the person who is not the victim, or the person who is not into that the wrong side, or maybe some mistakes are happening, or maybe we are blaming through the wrong data. You will get that the right cause for that the particular incidents. So never, sometimes we are having the fear to talk to that the clinicians, we have a fear to talk to the senior people, to the administrators. I know, we can understand there is a fear. We cannot, because some of them, they are very aggressive. Some of them do not want to take that the blame over them. And that's happened when we do the root cause analysis. The best way is that to do the simulation based, so everybody will come into that the context, everybody will come into that scenario, and we can talk to each other. And let's see what happened. So there was no blame game, but easily we can find out where is the problem. So when you have to do, this is the time when you have the multiple people engage into the one case, you can do that, the simulation based RCA. And the third, when you have to do, use the data driven analysis. You have to combine the simulation findings with existing RCA methodologies. Find out what, with the same incident, whatever the incident is happening many times, just do it one simulation with the same incident and compare it. You can find out that where is the exact problem. And the fourth is last, the develop the action plans, where and when. When you develop the any action plan, ensure the insights translate into the concrete process changes, right? That means, as I said to you, implementation of what's the output of this RCA has to implement, right? It has to be translated into that the process changes, right? And that's the way, right? So let me give you one example, and then whatever I spoke about that the why, what, where, and why the simulation-based root cause analysis is. Let me just give you one example, which gives you gives you a more clarity how the simulation-based RCA can be helpful. This is the most common example which I just taken out. A nurse mistakenly administered a high dose of insulin to a patient, leading a severe hypoglycemia to a patient, and the patient required emergency intervention, but fortunately no long-term harm occurred, right? And that is the very common thing which happens. In traditional RCA, what is our approach? We review incident, we identify, oh, the nurse misinterpreted the prescription, it's a human error, The solution is additional training, call to the training team, call to the education department. Additional training has to be given to the nurses on that, the insulin. That's the solution. And that's done. But when you do this through the simulation based RCA, let's see what can happen. When you do this through a simulation based medication administration process was conducted with the nurse in the same unit, this revealed multiple system failure, right? When we do the same act, we never know. It might be the look like packaging where the insulin vial has kept that the same label is stored, the other medicines near to that. Maybe I gave you one example. It's a distraction when nurse was preparing that the insulin. During that time, somebody gave a call to her. She forgot to do that. She forgot, okay, it was 6 units and I prepared for 12 units, maybe. Lack of double check system, might be. No second nurse was there for the verification. Might be incomplete electronic alerts. There might be the rate of reasons when we do that the same act into that the simulated environment. Then we will come to know what was the problem. And then on the basis of those, we can implement those solutions. Oh, we have to change the medication storage. We have, oh, there was a distraction, so we have to make sure that there should not be no distraction into the medication room. We have to write some label of no distraction. We have to minimize the interruption. We have to put the policy of the double check, make sure they have to follow it, right? Enhance the electronic system, whatever the things, right? And then on the basis of that, we can find out 100 of things. But if you look into the previous slide on the traditional approach, how we can come up with that, with the one conclusion, that is the human error. Yes, that was the human error. But what was the reason for that? That exactly that the RCA. And I hope that this is the best method to do that, the RCA. I hope that I was very clear about, or somewhat clear about that, the what is simulation-based RCA on a very short time, to at least to give you a sense that how important it is, and if we really use it, how beneficial it is, especially for the people who are into the leadership, who are into the quality department, who are the educators. It's a perfect method for all of us to do that. Over to you, ma'am, or for the
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you, Jaideep. Thank you. It's not very easy to pack in everything about simulation into such short, discussion. Nevertheless, I think it's the beginning. Jaideep, you can stop sharing. Okay. So friends, we do have a couple of questions, but before that, I want to share a story because when you mentioned insulin, a real incident came to my mind. This happened many, many years ago when I was working in Saudi. There was a Filipino patient who was admitted after a road traffic accident to our ICU. And he had severe head injury, had craniotomy, and he stayed with us for almost 3.5, 4 months. He was not becoming conscious, and he was then finally we were able to, kind of extubate him and put him on rice to feeds. He just barely became conscious, and his family was going to fly in from Philippines and take him back because he already has been there. So he was ventilating himself. So we shifted him to the step down unit. Step down unit there in the hospital was, single, double rooms like that, all spread, big, big, rooms, etc. So we shifted him around 2 p.m. like today, and we all were very attached to him. So we actually, many people went to drop him to the ward, gave over. I personally went and I told them that because I was the head nurse there in the ICU, did all that. And next day, when I reach at 6 a.m. for my duty, I find the same boy on ventilator in the ICU. And I was like totally shocked. I said, what happened to him? Why is he back? I mean, we nursed him so much for 4.5 months. What happened? So they said the patient got extra dose of insulin intravenous. One of the reason for his hyperglycemia in head injury is pretty common. to have hyperglycemia because of brainstem involvement, So he was on insulin infusion. So what happened? What really happened when we actually did those days, we didn't call RCA, we go and find out what happened, why it happened, kind of thing. But everything was being done in a hush hush manner. Though it was being done hush hush manner, the nurse who was, assigned to the patient was immediately suspended. That was the first thing done. So now when I reflect back on it, what actually happened? Let's say that if we create this scenario once again, like simulation. Okay, so what will happen? We will go to the same unit. Somebody will be like the patient on the bed, and the insulin infusion will be going, and then we will be asking the nurse who was assigned, just do whatever that you did. So morning 4 o'clock is the time if all the patients are getting their morning bath and everything, and it's quite busy. That's the time the nurse changed the insulin syringe. Patient was getting 5 units of insulin per hour. So in that hurry burry, the nurse punched 50. And she changed the syringe and she went to help other nurses to give the morning care. By the time she came back, it was already 45 minutes or whatever. So you can imagine how much of insulin must have gone. 45, 40 units of insulin has gone intravenous. The patient was unresponsive. So immediately code blue was called, and then doctors, because he's young, his heart came back. But unfortunately, his brain was completely gone. The brain was already damaged from road traffic accident, but that was the final insult. He went into vegetative stage, and even today my tears well up when his family came from Philippines. They were expecting to take someone who is at least conscious. They literally had to take him on a ventilator. The ministry definitely helped and everything. So, I am trying to tell is that there are a lot of things that happen within the hospital. Jaideep already said we cannot make everything into a simulation based RCA. Typically, everybody will say RCA done, kappa done, all that, abbreviations are thrown just like that. And few years ago, the kappa will always invariably end in training. Nurses training. If that was the solution, our places will become far, far safer if training was the answer to that. So, there's a question from Dr. Anu. What are some real life examples where simulation based RCA helped improve clinical outcomes? So, now there are no real life examples for the moment available. But if you read on the simulation, anything, even if you go to the nuclear industry, or you go to the aviation, they simulate what can go wrong. Here we are not talking about what can go wrong. When you are educating a nurse, you can create assumed scenarios. Suppose what you do in code blue, you are saying a patient is there and is arresting, and this, how do you do that? That's a simulation. But when it comes to real incident, there may be a reason a patient was found dead on bed. So undetected death on hospital bed is definitely a sentinel event, and you would like to know what exactly happened. So you have to, simulation would mean you will use the simulation principles and you're going to recreate what happened. Obviously, you will call the people who are involved. We are not assuming a scenario, we are actually looking at a real event. So you will get the people who are involved, and Jaideep mentioned about a multidisciplinary team. Just like when you do RCA today, also, you will do RCA and you will do a fishbone, which will look at all your 5 M's, man, material, method, methodology, and all that, stuff you will be doing on a fishbone. But to get to that fishbone, rather than assuming all the points each person is saying, you are actually watching the scenario. It is happening all over again. It's like a movie, and then you are making your notes. And Jaideep gave one more very important tip, that one time when you see it, you may not be able to come to the real reason. So you may like to look at the recording again to say, did we miss anything? Most of the times, what we miss is process failures, system failures, human factors. So when we look at this again, you may be able to see things that you are not able to see when you're doing a paper-based RCA. So there are not many evidence available, but evidence of simulation helping improving patient safety exists. There are more than enough. So, and you know which are the scenarios you will create into simulation for training nurses. Nowadays, the argument from all the people who are simulation experts is that all our training should use simulation methodology. Once the skill part is taken care of, skill is different. Then you are putting all the pieces together, and you are now, when you are doing RCA, you are not going to look at that factor. You are actually trying to get them to do exactly what happened. So I will give you another example from my own life, because when I was a CNO, I was not knowing simulation based RCA and all that stuff. But I had my own way of finding the RCAs, right? So I will always go and meet the patient who had a fall. Because every time my supervisor will tell me, ma'am, there was a fall, the side rails was up. It's almost like my supervisor is trying to tell me we are not at fault, side rails is up. How sadly misplaced is that answer? Only the side rails being up is not the answer for many of the patient falls. So I'll give one real life incident I had come across long time ago when I was the CNO. Patient who had she had TKR, elderly person who had a total, not TKR, THR, right hip replacement. So morning about 4:35, I get a call ki this patient fell down from the bed. I said, total hip replacement. How did she fall down? I said, okay, I'm coming. And the patient had suffered head injury. So now she is getting scheduled for a craniotomy. It's a big problem, right? So I went there. I told, let the nurse please wait. I'm coming early. Let me speak to her. So I asked her, Ki, Bacha, what happened? So she started crying. She said the whole night I was sitting with the lady only, whole पूरी रात मैं उसके साथ बैठी थी madam. Then I said, what happened? Because she was trying to get out of bed. But if you do this once again, let me ask all of you, if you run the scenario in your head, what is happening? What is happening? What did we miss? I'm opening the discussion to all the people sitting here. Anybody. There are a lot of leaders sitting here.
Side rails not locked properly.
Again, we are going to side rails. That is our immediate answer.
Ma'am, patient was not stable if patient she.
Okay. So let me go to the side rails. If you enact this, the nurse will say side rails were up. Then what happened to the patient if the side rails are up? So if that day I didn't use any simulation based, I did not enact. I asked her again. You are so worried about the patient, whole night you were with the patient. Why were you standing with the patient? Because she said Mataji was trying to get out from the bed from the foot end. I hope you understand. She is trying to get out from the bed from the foot end. She is moving and she is trying to go out. Is it a normal behavior for a post-op patient?
No, ma'am.
No.
It's not a normal behavior. Is restraints the answer? Somebody had to think. Elderly patient, post-operative, very common reason is electrolyte imbalance.
Mm.
Yes. So here, the nurse and the TL, they did not think of calling the doctor to say that something is not right. This is what is called critical thinking.
Correct.
Now, if we enact this all over, so that time I realized what happened was that my nurse and the TL, they were not able to pick up that this lady needed some test to figure out that why is she becoming restless. So then when the nurse went to give morning care, same story. When she went, she told the attendant कि please आप ना इनको ध्यान से देखना ये जा रही है. Now the attendant is tired. तो उनकी he went to sleep. Then the lady just simply walked out of the food tent. Side rails are up. She just went wherever there was an exit. She just went, and obviously she fell down. It was a major event that could have been prevented if a little bit of critical thinking was in place. So now, if we do that scenario all over again, I would see more things than I saw that day. Correct? I would probably see more things. That my nurse, maybe she's tired, or the TL did not come and assist her. There will be questions that we will ask, no, how many times the TL came? Did the TL think, So all those things. So I hope these examples are, giving you that understanding that simulation can throw more light on more reasons that we may not see on a paper-based RCA. I'm going to stop now and I'm going to open the floor for all the participants sitting here. If you have any questions, any comments, please, because this is a new thought process. And when I looked into it, just came to me when I was attending SimCon. Jaideep had hosted SimCon here. When I was looking at various things that many different hospitals across the world, they are using simulation-based principles. That, what was his name who came from Spain? He had
Pedro.
given, huh?
Pedro.
Pedro gave so many examples, which is very hatke, not the routine simulation based thing. So he's actually getting into hospital. They have a hospital, so he's lucky. So he's getting into that. We talk about simulation in situ. So why not simulation in situ to do RCA to see that what failed us? And it takes time. It takes time to design because simulation principles will need to be respected when you are doing a simulation based RCA also. Here, the objective is to find what led to the event. And on the side, there will be huge learning that you can have also. So once you have recorded it, once you have recorded the simulation, imagine how many times that can be run as a class in your own hospital. One time. And you know that you don't have to do lectures. You just have to show that small, cinema to them and say that now what happened here using the same simulation based, principles. So let me stop here and ask that, are you people excited? Do you have questions? Do you think that we need to get trained properly before you do a simulation based RCA?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Thankam.
This is Arya.
Yes.
Ma'am, I feel yes, we must get certified simulation certification as a administrator because before that, few principles are very, very vital. I remember there was a needle stick injury and I told my nurse to enact and tell me what had happened, what did go wrong. But I think the simulation is a better word for that enact all scenario, and we must have the simulation certification to know and do the proper RCA as a simulation based RCA. I think that will really help us, and I'm very much excited. And it's really a new concept, what I feel, to put into on paper and even show, record, and convince people during our meetings what did go wrong in process also.
Yes, because there is a whole lot of opportunity for us to even publish our findings. There is not many real life RCA articles out there at this moment. So we can be the pioneer doing this, why not? So I was telling Jaideep, maybe this webinar cannot address everything. Can we design
Right,
a
ma'am.
workshop for doing RCA, a simulation workshop to train people how to do RCA, the focusing on designing the simulation for the purpose of RCA. Would you like that? How many
I
of you would like that?
Yeah, good evening, Thankam ma'am. Hi, Jaideep. I
Good
think
evening.
yeah. So I think very interesting session. I've heard about it. Honestly, I have not practiced it myself, but I think going forward, this is the only way I see, because you know we do so many RCAs and we come up, as Jaideep was mentioning, training is the main problem identified, but it has really not helped us, right? And what the beauty of this simulation thing that I really like, what Tanga ma'am you mentioned about, you record this, and you can, this will be a lifelong learning thing for the nurses, because nobody is interested now in classroom training, and people like story,
Sorry, we lost you, Dr. Anu. Hello?
doing a similar task, what they do on a daily
We
basis.
lost you in between, huh?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know. I'm
You
actually,
said a story, then we lost you.
yeah, okay, okay. So I'm
People
saying
like
that,
storytelling, yes.
yeah, yeah. So I think this is going to be a good form of training also, because see, in our hospital setting, I would say 80% of the nursing errors are common across.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So at least if you're not able to handle 100%, at least 80% of the errors we can actually address through this simulation based, case scenarios that we are going to, enact and record. But the big challenge here is how many of us are equipped to do that, because everybody will have different ways of, uh, assessing a case scenario. We don't know how to do it. Maybe, as you rightly said, organizing a workshop to train people on how to go about it, and I am pretty interested in this, and I will have a lot of my team members definitely attending it. If you have a batch size of some 50, I can probably tell you right away. Please go ahead. I'll send, yeah.
I'm just thinking, I don't know, I'm thinking loud. Should we be doing this, virtual simulation workshop, or should we be doing this in person? Because,
In person, ma'am.
4 to 5 hours we would,
Yeah.
because we have to introduce them to the principles of simulation, and we will probably have, you know, we will work within ourselves that, what kind of a template can guide. Suppose you are bringing a doctor or somebody else to watch this and be part of the, root cause analysis team. They should not hijack into something else. That's very important. Even in this RCA, the objectives will be very, very clear. It has to be very tight. So then administrator will be told, you please look from the process side. It is very important
Right.
to guide them, because we cannot train all of them. So it will be led by nurses. And I think there will be a huge wealth. I really, really am so excited. And I keep telling myself, why am I not a CNO now somewhere? I would have loved to do all this stuff. But thank you so much for endorsing this. Thank you, Dr. Anu Kaushik, for endorsing, and thank you, who spoke before that, Arya. So we will definitely try to design a workshop, and we will try to see how best, because obviously there will be a cost to it. So we are going
So
to see that how can we make it. I'm sure it will be exciting and interesting, but then we want to do some after workshop, you know, somebody has to do something and give it back to us, so that we learn whether how
Right.
did that help. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Kaushik, your
that's
workshop, we definitely want you to be there.
and ma'am Tangam and Jaideep, I really like about what about your trainings and your session is, that you are just not, ending it, after the training is over. You do a follow up, you see what is the outcome on ground, and you see training effective. Now I think that's the beauty of this trainings that you guys organize, and I'm all for it. So let's do it, and let's do a proper 1 or 2 days workshop. I'm okay with that,
Okay.
and in person is fine.
Great.
Fantastic. So we got our
Thank you so
first
much,
batch
ma'am.
here. Thank
Yeah,
Thank you
you,
yeah.
so much.
Anu.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And those who are interested from any other states also, please have the dialogue. You can get in touch with me and we will see how best we can do. So, Jaideep, we have our first batch in Delhi, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
great.
very
Great.
quickly, I just want to give that the one query which Dr. Anu has put, the how does the simulation-based RCA take into consideration with the unpredictable human behavior? And this is a great question, I should say, because unpredictable human behavior is the key factor in any root cause analysis. And simulation-based RCA is designed to account into the several ways. And then,
Okay.
and by creating the real-world conditions, you have to include that the time pressure, patient variability, team dynamics. It's a natural human responses that you can see at that time, because in the most of the RCAs you will just see that oh, this is the human behavior. मैडम मन नहीं कर रहा था, मैडम बहुत प्रेशर था, स्ट्रेस बहुत था, 4 पेशेंट एक साथ आ गए थे. And that in this scenario we have to put those conditions into it, and then let's see that what the decision making analysis which we can do. And
Yeah, I think Jaideep, you're right, because see, like you said, like मैम 4 पेशेंट आ गए थे, जब कोई
right,
ऐसे बोलता है तो we don't really put ourselves into that situation, but when you actually see this happening in an emergency, 4 patients coming, and you see poor nurse struggling and trying to meet ends meet, then you understand what she's actually trying to say.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. That's the way where we have
Mm.
to put into that shoe, and then realize, okay, oh, there is a problem. What kind of the patient they were for? We never
Right.
think into that way. So that's a great
I
question.
think
So
I
that's the
think
human behavior.
if it can address this particular issue, I think it's really very good, because I was actually not very sure whether this can be addressed through simulation based RCA.
So that
So
that will complete.
Anu, the power of this is that it should be a scenario from you, not
Correct.
assumed scenario. See, many times
Right.
we say
Mm,
hypoglycemia, failure to detect,
mm,
patient getting, all those are standards. So you can create and you can train. But if
right.
they are real scenarios, real patient, and you get people to enact exactly what happened and without, without being judgmental, tell them just we want to learn. Just let's do this all over and one time effort.
Mm,
And once
right.
effort means it is scanned and it's available for you.
Yeah. And
I
also we
agree.
can run that the same scenario with the different participants,
Yeah.
and I should say
Joining.
highlights their patterns in how and why the error occurs despite
Mm,
of the unpredictable behavior.
correct. Correct.
And
So
maybe in the discussion later, you may have to do a little bit of after work to say that how will you lead the, once the scenario is enacted, how will you do the debriefing?
Mm,
When you plan a debriefing, it is not for root cause analysis, that is for learning purpose. So you are doing one enactment to actually do a RCA.
mm,
When the it's almost like the all the inspectors, like someone was mentioning in the chat box, it's like uh, asking the criminal to go to the site and just say that how did you do this. I don't know, I'm remembering this picture called, I think it was called Maharaja, I'm not sure, exactly. So that's how they find that the person who was investigating was the murderer himself, you know
okay.
so
Mm,
simulation is it has the power, but it also can be totally misused if you don't understand the principles. That's why we keep on telling, that simulation, everybody will say, okay, we all are doing simulation, but it's very important. I really hope the nursing leaders will take interest, not only the academicians, because academicians are getting exposed to simulation based training, learning, etc., because Indian Nursing Council has mandated. But this is not mandated by anyone to use it in the hospital. But I think today's date, all the nurse administrators have to find newer ways of working smartly. And with technology, it is very important that we leverage the technology, not to wait for somebody else to come and give us the technology that then we say, oh, it should have been like that. Why not we come up with innovative ideas and do it ourselves and say, this is what we did. And believe me, this is not very prevalent in the world also. I mean, I couldn't find a lot of reactive simulation RCAs. There are, you do it like a proactive in the sense that you are assuming a particular situation has got high risk. Like, for example, in the OT, anesthesia. So you can simulate the entire thing and say how you learn, and then what can go wrong. There are a lot of discussions. They take the scenario and say, if this happens, what happens? So these are all based on real life incident, but not real in the sense it happened today and tomorrow you are going to simulate. It's not like that. So we are very excited. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. If anyone has any other comments, please, we'll take another 2-3 minutes to sum up.
Just one point I have, ma'am. This actually quality team in the hospital has a very important role,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because we work very jointly with them. I think it will be a good idea to involve, or because I was just checking with my quality team just 2 few days back, on this RCs and all that. They were saying, there not proper training is being given. We want to attend some sessions. So, if is it okay if I invite some quality
No,
people?
oh, I am telling you, I mean, it will be powerful if you get your
Yes.
team and whoever. I mean, even if you get your, one of the medical person who actually participate, if they want to be there, multidisciplinary will have multifactorial effect and advantages. Because
Thanks.
the
Thank you, ma'am.
whole thing,
Yeah.
I always say that whenever you are doing RCA, do not do within nursing. Get the people, whoever was supposed to be involved there. Even the people who are involved, doctors, it should be multidisciplinary. But somewhere it is, kind of restricted to quality people. It is not, quality is supposed to be spearheading it, but they cannot do the RCA themselves. It's
Correct.
not possible because they don't know. They were not there. How will they be able to do that? So, one more story. I was in another hospital in another state recently for a conference. So, the conference was in I think 13, 14th floor or something. So, I had to use the loo. So, obviously, I was, accompanied by someone. Because it's a big hospital. So, I said, we will take you to the 2 floors down. So, then we are waiting for the lift. The lift is not coming, the lift is not coming. It happened 2 times. So then I asked her, what happens if a patient crashes on this floor? How will the code blue team come? I said, do you know that how many minutes it will take if someone crashes in this floor? So their silence tells they had not used the simulation methodology to see if their code blue team can safely reach within that 3 minutes time. It's very structural related thing. It's a very structural related thing. So I told them, free advice, do this. Otherwise, you should have multiple code blue teams who can reach these areas quickly. You cannot, if your ICU is say in the, let's say in the 9th floor and code blue is happening in the 15th floor. If the team is running from the ICU, by the time they reach the 15th floor, somebody has to resuscitate them. Running so many steps, isn't it? So there are many things that can actually come up when you actually do a simulation, right? So somebody is telling during class, I was reminded, okay, a lot of people very informative. Thank you, not a problem. Thank you very much for that. Somebody told Sully, the Bollywood movie is a real example of simulation based RCA based on real story. Oh wow. Where is it showing, Sully? I don't think I have seen the movie. Preeti, tell us. Where is it showing? I will definitely see that. Bollywood, huh? Bollywood. Okay, Bollywood. Not Hollywood, huh? Bollywood, Sully. How did I miss that? Which language, Preeti? Hollywood. Okay, that's Hollywood. Okay, we'll look for that. Okay. Thank you. So I think now everybody is getting a little creative and understanding that the simulation is a methodology people are using to go to the root cause. And as Dr. Anu said, if we are having the same problems again and again, that means the solutions that we are finding are not the right answers. It's like someone said, if we continue to do the same things, we cannot expect different results. We have to do something different. Correct? So we are very happy that all of you are positively inclined to this topic. It was not a full training, it was just a sensitization. In 1 hour we can't do much, but I'm very happy to see a lot of people getting excited and motivated. So there's a lot of stories hidden in all the movies we see, huh? If we only keep reflecting on what's happening, it is really, that's how I think that people who write those stories are very well equipped with simulation ideas, because their mind is running like that, right? So healthcare also, let's take it up. Jaideep, all for it?
Yeah,
We can
we
make
have
that.
an upcoming course in the month of April. People can register to become a simulation expert because they
Okay.
have to learn the simulation first before
So
jumping.
if you want to be trained as a simulation expert, please feel free. Contact Vidyanta. When is the next training?
23rd to 26th April.
So it's a few days. This workshop that we are planning, we are hoping that people who learned the simulation principles will find it far more easier if you attend that workshop. And I know nursing heads could be hard pressed, so that's okay. We understand. So we will try to work out a workshop model in which that principles are given to you just for the benefit of RCA, so that you are able to stick to the principles of RCA. And those whoever wants to get certified, please go ahead and contact me. I'll put you in touch with Jaideep, and otherwise, many of you might be knowing Jaideep already. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And Jaideep, thank you so much. That was very animated and energetic discussion. I get all excited when it comes to simulation. And
No,
I'm
thank you
very
so
happy
much,
that I
ma'am.
met you. So my passion is kept alive because I have, as a partner to think of newer things. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time and thank you so much to all the audience.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. And take care and stay safe. And let's keep our patients also safe. So we concluded our tripart webinar today, and see you some other time with some other topic. Thank you very much, everyone, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.